talk about Harry and Meghan now, because that's what we do now. It's the law now. And the usual whinging from Harry. This time it's just Harry, not Meghan. This is ahead of his publication of his new memoirs called Spare, obviously. Like, apparently it's a revelation to him there's an heir and a spare. Did you know the royal family's hierarchical? I knew, who knew there was a hierarchy in the royal family, as we discovered from the Netflix documentary. But his memoir is out next Tuesday. We've got an interview he's done with Tom Bradbury at ITV, which is going out this Sunday, and a trailer has been put out, and it is quite extraordinary. Before I get your thoughts and those of Rupert Bell as well, let's have a little watch and a little listen to what the latest claims from Prince Harry are.
Never needed to be this way. The leaking and the planting. I want a family, not an institution. They feel as though it's better to keep us somehow as the villains. They've shown absolutely no willingness to reconcile. I would like to get my father back. I would like to have my brother back.
So, yes, you should see Sam Armstrong's smile on his face. He wants to reconcile. He wants to get his brother back. He wants to get his father back. And he thinks that writing a book and doing a Netflix series, and with rumours of Meghan writing her own memoirs as well, slagging off his family is the way to do it. Is that the best way to heal such a family rift in public?
He is sat in an $8,000 a night hotel suite promoting a book deal for which he got $20 million to write, the sole purpose of which was to reveal embarrassing details about his entire family, the most personal, most confidential, the closest rows that they ever had, to air all of that dirty laundry in public, while all the same complaining that whose privacy was invaded? Yeah. Oh, his. Oh, I'm the victim. Cry me a river, Harry.
Sam's not impressed. Rupert Bell, royal correspondent at Talkradio. I have a funny feeling, Rupert, neither are you.
No, and if he wants reconciliation, this isn't the way to do it. And you continually sniping at his family. Why would they want to reconcile with him? Because if the only way they could have reconciled with him is if he'd said, right, you're not doing these books. Because why? Because, you know, unfortunately, he wants the money. He's signed these huge deals, and he's backed himself into a corner.
Can I say, we're not going to go... I'm not going to allow needs the money. No one who lives in a $15 million Montecito mansion needs the money in the same way. Let's talk about worries for the palace today, as The Guardian has got hold, not in their actual newspaper, actually, only online, overnight, of an excerpt of a leaked version of Spare. This is Prince Harry's new memoir, coming out supposedly next Tuesday. He's done a couple of big interviews. American TV and ITV's Tom Bradbury is going out on Sunday. We've seen small excerpt from that, but in this leaked copy, it is some extraordinary claims. Prince Harry claims that he was physically attacked by his brother William. He was left in with, he says, visible injuries, including scrapes and bruises on his back when he fell. He says that the now Prince of Wales, back in his London home in 2019, he visited, and he said that Prince William called Meghan difficult, rude and abrasive. Harry then accused his brother of, in his words, parroting the press narrative about his wife. A screaming and shouting match ensued, ending with, Harry claims, a physical attack by Prince William. He claims that William grabbed me by the collar, ripping my necklace and knocked me to the floor. Then he claims he was left with a visible injury to his back. His brother left and then came back again and said no need to tell Meg about this, but he did then later tell his therapist and then tell his wife as well that he'd been knocked to the floor. Well, let's talk about this with Rupert Bell, Talk Radio's royal correspondent. Good morning to you.
Morning, Julia.
I have a funny feeling that the Buckingham Palace's attempts to stay stum are not going to last for today. Do you think we're going to be getting some sort of statement along the lines of the Queen's statement last year, recollections may vary?
I think the problem is they tried to set their stall out to remain silent, and I think they'll do their level best to do exactly that. But
the future king being accused of physically assaulting his brother.
Well, therein lies the dilemma. It is extremely difficult, but for them now, because now the gloves are off in every sense. Because if he is saying they were having a full-blown row, and actually, you know, that rumours had been circulating around about the fact that their relationship had come to this sort of situation. So it's probably just confirms what a lot of people know already.
I think we knew that there'd been a sort of shouting match, and Gary previously talked about his brother screaming at him, and how how difficult this was. There's never been an allegation of physical violence before, but again, the recollections may vary. Maybe Prince William's version would simply be, they got in a tussle, someone slipped, things happen. A lot of people, it's interesting actually how many people who were sort of tweeting and messing about this, pointing out that, well, unfortunately, some emotions can ride high and sometimes things go a bit wrong in family disputes. But most of us don't, wash our family, our family laundry like this in the international media's gaze. Now we've seen a leak of the book that The Guardian has managed to get hold of. I'm sure this hasn't gone down very well with whoever had actually paid huge amounts for the serialisation of this book, if, of course, Prince Harry was willing to do that, given how much he hates everyone in the media. But in this extraordinary excerpt, Prince Harry claims that his brother William grabbed him by the collar and threw him to the floor in a heated argument about his wife, Meghan. This was in Harry and Meghan's London home in 2019 after they'd married. According to the book, Prince Harry says that Prince William, now Prince of Wales, of course, branded Meghan difficult, rude and abrasive, and that Harry told his brother that he was parroting the press narrative. A screaming and shouting match ensued, ending with a physical altercation, according to Prince Harry's version of events, and that Prince Harry said that William grabbed me by the collar, ripping my necklace and knocked me to the floor. The Duke of Sussex claims he was left with a visible injury to his back, later told his therapist and then told his wife when he noticed the bruises and she noticed the bruises and the scratching. Well, let's talk about this with Charlie Ray. He's former royal editor of The Sun. Good morning to you, Charlie.
Good morning, Julia.
I have to say, when we remember these pictures of these two lads when they were young men, with Diana and then walking behind her funeral cortege so memorably, of course, something Prince Harry's also spoken about, how difficult that was, being made to do that. I think one of the things that we were buoyed by, no matter what your feelings about the royal family, that actually these were two boys who have a difficult life. They lost their mother at a young age, but they had each other. And they were the only two people who understood what it was like to go through being in that goldfish bowl, losing their mum, or the divorce and all of that, had each other. The rift between the two brothers is I think, whatever your feelings about the royal family, is deeply sad. This accusation from Prince Harry, though, this goes beyond sad. This is both pretty shocking and incredibly damaging for Prince William, our future king.
It is. It is a red rag to a bull, to be perfectly honest. We've now got some nitty gritty, and congratulations to The Guardian. Those are words that I never thought I would ever utter, to be perfectly honest. And getting hold of a copy of Spare. I mean, every media organisation was after it, and it's interesting that The Guardian is one of the few newspapers that Harry and Meghan are not suing. Maybe that's just a coincidence.
Doesn't narrow it down much. Right now, let's talk about, the ongoing issues we have in this country when it comes to strikes. Rail strikes again today from the RMT, second day of a 48-hour strike. That'll still hit again tomorrow when ASLEF train drivers are going on strike. And then we've got more RMT workers going out on strike on Friday and Saturday. We've got more nurses strikes coming up, more paramedics, ambulance drivers. And, of course, we've got Highways Agency, driving instructors. You name it, DVSA. We've also got possibility of doctors going on strike. They've got a strike ballot ending next week. And, indeed, teaching unions as well. Across the board, civil servants, bin men in some parts of the country, we are seeing these issues. Well, Paul Novak is the General Secretary of the TUC since last summer, and he's been calling for an urgent meeting with the Prime Minister in a bid to break the industrial disputes sweeping the country. And I'm delighted to say he joins us right now. Good morning to you.
Morning, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us. Why do you want an urgent meeting with the Prime Minister? What will that resolve?
Well, I think what we need is a meeting with the Prime Minister to reset our public services, because the reality is, Julia, regardless of the strikes that are taking place, and as you said, they're taking place right across our public sector, what we're seeing is staffing crises in large parts of the public sector. 133,000 staff vacancies in our NHS at the moment. And another real terms pay cut for nurses and paramedics isn't going to help us address that problem. The Prime Minister will talk today about the need to teach maths in our schools. We've got a chronic shortage of maths teachers. Yeah. 40% of new teachers leave the job within 5 years. Again, another real terms pay cut is going to help that situation. So we think it's time for the government to sit down, to talk seriously to unions and to staff about how we rebuild our public services. And crucially, I want to make the point to him that he needs to empower his ministers to be able to sit round a table with our unions, negotiate a fair pay rise for public sector workers and put an end to these strikes.
You say it's, getting face-to-face with someone, seeing the whites of their eyes always helps when you're trying to come to a deal. And we know that Mark Harper, the Transport Secretary, meeting with the RMT leadership, perhaps may smooth the way to a possible resolution there in a way that Grant Shapps, the former Transport Secretary, never did. But fundamentally, it's going to come down to money, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't matter how supportive or nice or agreeing you can all be. If you sit down with Rishi Sunak and he says, as the Prime Minister, there's no more money, end of, full stop. No sitting around, no cups of tea and bourbons is going to make any difference, is it?
Well, I'm not looking for tea and sympathy, Julia, and I'm not looking for beer and sandwiches in number 10 either. I'm looking for a straight discussion about public sector pay and how we rebuild our public services.
And what is that? That straight discussion is we need to pay people in the public sector a lot more.
No, it's going to come down to political choices. So, the government could decide if it wanted to tax more heavily the profits of the oil and gas giants. It could decide to equalise capital gains tax with income tax. That alone would raise around £17 billion, enough to pay the lion's share of a decent pay rise in the public sector. But the only way you resolve disputes is by sitting down and reaching agreement. And at the moment, the government is refusing to even enter into a basic negotiation. And I don't think that the Prime Minister can wish away the staffing crisis in the NHS. You either want an NHS that is there to provide support and services to patients and to the public when you need them, or you don't. And if you do want it, you're going to have to pay for it.